you are a business owner and you are stuck, if you are struggling with the concept of being in business, you're struggling with overwhelm, you're stressed, you're worried, you're unsure about what direction to go in, you're all over the place with your thoughts and ideas and frustrated, that's quite normal. And I say it's quite normal because I've been working with business owners for about 35 years and I've seen all sorts of trades, all sorts of businesses. And over the years, we've got really good at working with creative people because creative people light the place up as far as I'm concerned. They're always doing something really interesting, which excites me. I find the creative side of things really interesting myself. And as a result of it, when you are of a creative mind, you've got to be allowed to explore the possibilities. You've got to be allowed to test the boundaries of what you're trying to create. And that creates an upset sometimes in your own mind when you're just dealing with the mechanics of your business, the day-to-day of your business. And one of the ways that I've found over the years, and I've helped clients do this as well, is to recognize and understand that it's a bit like if you've got children, you have to have some rules and boundaries. It doesn't mean to say you have to be a disciplinarian. You don't have to have everything really heavily disciplined, but you just have some rules and boundaries so that people don't get hurt, people don't get upset, and we can live a happy life. And it's the same with your business. And today I want to share with you what we have as our rules and boundaries within our business and some of the philosophy behind them all and why they are so important when we feel a bit overwhelmed, a bit stuck, a bit stressed, a bit worried, and all those feelings, those negative feelings that we have with business, and how these rules and boundaries can often fix it. Or if you're feeling that way, it's probably because we've broken one of the rules. And the thing about rules and boundaries within your own business is that you'll break them. And as the business owner, I'm probably the one who's more likely to break them than anybody else because, well, that's the joy of being your own business, your own boss, isn't it? You do what you want, but you kind of have to have a little bit of framework, if you like. And the rules and boundaries that we have, these are 6, and they're only 6. And they have taken years to perfect. We actually perfected these many years ago, but they took a long time to perfect. I think the original list, we got down to about 18, and then we got it down to 12, and then we really hammered into it and said, no, that rule doesn't matter, because if this rule happens, you don't need that other rule. And we refined it into the 6 rules that fit our business. And they might fit your business, they might be helpful towards your business, but I'll leave you to decide. So the first rule is we only work for our ideal client. And I hear lots of people in the marketing business saying, right, what you need is your ideal client portfolio. You need to work out your avatar. You need to work out exactly who you're focused on marketing to, because it makes the whole marketing process easy. If you're talking to one specific person in your marketing message, then you are likely to attract that one person. Equally, you need to repel the people who are not your ideal client. So the ideal client is really important. However, when you are faced with a client that approaches you or a prospect that approaches you, and you see the fact that, oh, they want to buy my thing and we're having a conversation, you can easily go through the process, put out your proposal, they accept it, they start paying you some money, and off you go. And you go, yeah, I've won a customer. Are they your ideal client? Oh, it doesn't matter, they're giving me money. The reason we need an ideal client is that if you want a business that's fun to work with and fun to run, it really helps if the clients that you work with are great people. Because then when you go to work, you're just working with your mates. You're working with some really good people because they're your ideal client. But if in amongst it, you've got customers and clients who are not ideal, and the reason they're not ideal is because down the line they will give you a hard time, then down the line you will have an unhappy business because you've allowed this one client in. Now, it might be that you need to refine your ideal client, and it's something that is that you will progress as you get more and more clients come in and you get to know people better from the psychology of people. You might refine that even further. Great. We'll cover that in Rule 6. But rule one, ideal client. Rule number two, no meetings without an appointment. It's something that took myself and Vicki a while to really perfect, but when we did, it changed everything. It not only changed everything for the business, it changed everything for our relationship. So we do things by appointment. Therefore, if our staff need to talk to us, we don't do got a minutes. Book an appointment, tell me what the conversation's about, so that when we have our call, we can be prepared. So one of my team does a lot of accounts preparation work and gets on a call with me with a load of queries. Great. So she will send through the queries first. Here's the 4 things that I want to discuss in our meeting. I'll see you on Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock. Great. I can see that in my calendar. I can have a quick look at the list. And sometimes I might look at that list in advance. And so therefore, when she turns up at the meeting, we actually solve the problems pretty quickly because I've had a little bit of insight into what she's asking. So a little bit of preparation for the meeting. But if we were to just allow our staff to just interrupt us all the time, they're only going to ask me the hardest question of the day because they're bright, intelligent people. They should be able to fix most things. And if they're going to bring to me the hardest question of the day, then they can't do that when I'm already dealing with something quite difficult or I'm busy doing something that I'm immersed in. All right. So no meetings without appointment. That also means that Vicki and I, who live together and work together, and we are a couple as well, when it comes to work, we put appointments in the calendar. Every Monday morning we sit down and we have our weekly mastermind session ourselves. The two of us sit down for an hour, sometimes 2, and go, right, this is what we're going to do. We have an agenda to it. We have an assistant that comes and helps us with that meeting, so we stay on track within that meeting framework. If we've got client events and client meetings to go to, then we book them in our joint calendars. Everything goes in our calendars, to the point it spills out where our children will phone up and say, hey, could you meet up here, or can we do this, or can you have the grandkids? Yeah, no problem at all. Put it in the calendar, put in the calendar, put in the calendar. Everything goes into the calendar. So if I was to show you my calendar for the next, probably the next 2 years, there is stuff all in our calendar for the next 2 years already pre-booked and pre-planned, which means we can build our life around that. Meetings must start and end on time. Simple, isn't it, really? You've got it in the calendar to meet somebody at 11 o'clock, and it's an hour meeting. Great. Start at 11, finish at 12. And you can see this on, if you watch Zoom webinars online. The first thing the caller does is say, okay, I'll just leave it for a few minutes. There's a few people just turning up late. Don't worry, we'll get going in a minute and we'll get going. And everybody who turned up on time has now got to wait 3, 4, 5 minutes while the host lets all these other people in. Well, this is how we run our video group meeting on a Wednesday morning at 9:30. 9:30, I press the button, load it up. Those that are there, we start. We start. And if you rock up at 10 minutes later, you get acknowledged, a little wave, you've missed it. You've missed the first 10 minutes. Tough. We don't wait for you. We just continue all the way through. The same with our events that we have. Lots of people travel all over the place to come down to the events, and it's exciting that everybody comes from all over the country and they come down to our events. And a lot of people come the night before, which is great, and we spend a whole day in a hotel working, and we start bang on 9:30. Bang on 9:30. That means if you're grabbing coffee and you're sorting yourself out, and we start, you soon see people turn up, because you've got to start on time, you've got to end on time. Otherwise your calendar will go to pot. Only do the work on the task list. This is something I covered in an earlier video that I actually did this morning about overwhelm. And the way to deal with overwhelm is to empty your head of everything that's in it and make a list. Well, what do you do with that list? Well, you can just have a notepad, but it's better to take that list and upload it into a task tool of some sort. I use Google Tasks. I put everything into Google Tasks. That is my list of tasks. Everything that comes in there, because once it's in there, I can then start sorting them and grading them into the priority levels that they require. And sometimes tasks I believe need to be done, on reflection, are a distraction. But the fact that I can put them into my tasks is a really great way to do it. Now, if you've got a team of people, they all have tasks as well. I have tasks, and so across the team, you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tasks. Now, from a management point of view, you can look at the tasks and you can say, oh, I've got this team member over here that's flat out, seems to be working extra hours, but I've got this team member over here that's coasting a bit. Well, why don't we take some of those tasks and share them? Share the workload a little bit. All right. Why don't we actually manage this a little bit better? Number 5, we in our business do not extend our deadlines to deal with client tardiness. Oh, that's a deep one. Now, it's a deep one that comes out of deadlines. We have lots of things in our life that evolve around deadlines. Deadlines for the clients, which means deadlines for us. So rather than leave everything to the last minute and do everything by the deadline, which is natural for most of us, is that we have to put a system in place that avoids that. If you've got one thing to do by Friday, that's your deadline. You can do it on Friday. But if, like us, you've got hundreds of things to be done by the end of the month, we can't do them all on it. We just can't. So we have to front load and spread the work for the team along the way. Therefore, we will put things in place to make sure that we can get our process done. So it's driven by our need to flatline the work from the deadlines. Now, in doing so, that means we communicate, and these were one of the rules that we had before, we have to communicate to our clients. We have to let them know this is our process. This is what we expect from you to be able to do this. And if as a result of it, you as the client decide not to be part of our process, and you bring your stuff in at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon for a 5 o'clock deadline, our response to that is tough. It'll be late. It'll be late because we're not going to break ourselves because of client tardiness. Now, there's an element of that says ideal client. And when we built these rules out, we didn't have ideal client. We had lots of ideal clients, but there was a little subsection of our ideal clients that always left things to the last minute. And because they left things to the last minute, we built that rule. And right now, we've got a perfect amount of clients. We'd never get any of this. But I do actually have one person at the moment who's not responding. Now, it's not causing me any problems, but I know this person really well. And I've reached out to them for a few times, and they've not responded. Now, it could be for other reasons. And I'm conscious of it because I'm looking after this client. But it's a little bit of a red flag. It's a little bit of a yellow card, if you like. Because if this continues, then they're not an ideal client, and then perhaps we should fire them. And I'm all for firing clients who are not ideal clients, because this work is hard enough. The business world is hard enough without having people making things harder. These rules and boundaries that we set ourselves mean that if we actually tick them all off and it's all okay, our business and our life is nice and easy. And the final one is about systems. This is part of a system. Everything we run is a system. Your standard operating procedures are part of your business. And if you're involved in anything with AI, or even just dabbling on the sides going, I wonder how this AI works, one of the key things that AI will love about your business is if you have standard operating procedures for everything in your business, for your team, for you as an individual, for your processes. Well, when you actually set out all of the operating processes for your business, you can bring it all back to a set of rules that say, do you know what? These are our core rules and boundaries for our business. If we get this bit right, everything else becomes so much easier. That means to get rid of the overwhelm, the worry, the stress, all of the nonsense that goes on with the negative side of being a business. It helps you unpack it so that you can say to yourself, right, am I doing the following things? Am I sticking to our system? Well, what do you mean, am I sticking to my system? Well, I've got a sales and marketing system that generates really good customers who are ideal customers, who adhere to our appointment system, who send stuff in on time, and we can task stuff and do the job. Great. So if I stick to my sales and marketing system, then I'll bring in those ideal clients. Great. You might be overwhelmed and going, oh, I've got all this stuff going. Well, are you sticking to your system? Well, I don't know what my system is. Well, start there. Build out your operating system for your business. We have a 90-day operating system for our business. Every 90 days, we start here, we do these things throughout the quarter, and we finish here. There's a very start and an end bit to it. In fact, it's quite circular. We hold an event once a quarter, and that event is the end of the previous quarter and the start of the next quarter. And that event for us signifies, right, set the goals for the next quarter, put the events in the calendar that we're going to be doing, build out the process for the clients. All the things that have to be done in that 90 days are often on repeat, but the detail has to be added to it. That then sets us into our system. We follow our system. Then all the other rules become a whole lot easier. Does that make sense? Like I said, I've used the example of children. If you've got children who are misbehaving, you kind of go, okay, you've got to just organize it. You've got to sit down and have a little conversation with them to go, right, in future, we're going to do this. Because if we do this, you'll be happy and I'll be happy. Right? That's all it's about. I hope that has somehow helped you in some way. If you want to leave a comment, please do. I'd be grateful to read the comments and do more videos like this or like the other videos that are in my channel. But otherwise, have a great day and see you soon.